We're now joined by Mitch Light, theathletic.com college baseball writer. Hey, man, great to have you back after a couple of weeks, and we're getting closer and closer. Has anybody jumped into a seed, obviously based on continuing to win, but has anyone jumped into a seed to bump somebody out as a super regional if things go well?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. And normally you'd sit here complain about getting bumped, but Cole Kubelik, I can listen to that guy talk college football all the time. So.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, really sharp guy. To answer your question, there hasn't been, Tennessee's a team that has tumbled in recent weeks from a surefire national seed. When I say national, I mean top 8, protected through the first 2, rounds. I'm not saying the Vols can't get there, but they have unfathomably lost 3 straight home conference series, which you would just never think possible. So they're a team. Oregon State's a team that, was top 10 by most accounts. They lost 4 straight to rival Oregon. So, a couple teams there. Texas obviously lost 3 games last week, but they're probably one of the few teams that could lose every remaining game and still be a top 8 national seed. So there'll be some movement in the final 2 weeks, and obviously we've got the conference tournaments coming up.
Mitch, one of the teams, look, and they've had a great run over the last decade, really. But Coastal Carolina had a really great weekend, and they took a nice jump up. Is that one of those teams from the outside of the power that could really mess things up for somebody?
Yeah, they have had a really good year. They're 24 in this. They're 20-4 in the Sun Belt, which is very good. Now the Sun Belt is top heavy this year. It's not as deep as it usually is. They beat Clemson last night in a midweek game, which really helps their RPI. I'm looking at the rest of their schedule. They play ULM 180 RPI and Old Dominion 120. So they can't. I would advise them not to slip up, but the committee likes to reward. They don't want to go all, 5 of the 8 national seeds, SEC and 3 ACC. They'd love to reward the quote unquote little guy there. They like geographical diversity. Now, Coastal Carolina doesn't necessarily give them that, but they are a team that has, they won a national championship. They've been relevant in college baseball, but they're having a very, very good year this year. And I'd be surprised right now if they are not a top 16 team. I believe they will be hosting a regional.
Mitch, who are the most intriguing teams that are on thin ice right now, kind of on that precipice of in or out at this moment? Who's got your interest at this time?
Protect your online privacy with Nord VPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Well, I'm going to look to 2 conferences. The Big 12, I was just looking at now. I do a top 25 every week. I write a weekly column. I don't do a field of 64, so I'm going to defer to the guys at D1 Baseball who do a really good job. And there are 4 Big 12 teams with 3 seeds, which means most power conference teams that don't host are 2 seeds. If you're a 3 seed, you're kind of on quote unquote thin ice. Kansas State, Cincinnati, and Arizona State are their 3 seeds. I'd say Kansas State and Cincinnati are the most bubblish of those 2 teams. And then you got to look at the SEC. 14 right now, it's looking like 14 teams could get in. Kentucky looked like a surefire team a couple of weeks ago. They got swept at Mississippi State. Of that group of 10 and 14 SEC teams, they have the worst RPI. Mississippi State fires its coach at 7 and 14. They sweep Kentucky. They're sitting at 10 and 14 now, and they're in pretty good shape. There's an interesting thing though, guys, when if you're paying attention to the bubble in the SEC. Missouri is 0 and 24. They're the worst SEC baseball team probably ever. Their RPI is in the 150s. How will in the past, a lot of fans and media like to just look at, they won 13 games they're in. They won 16 games they're going to host. I'm interested to see how the committee looks at teams that have played Missouri. Are they going to just treat those as any old SEC wins? In my opinion, they shouldn't. South Carolina is the same situation. They're not nearly as bad as Missouri, but they are clearly not very good. Like Vanderbilt, for instance, is a team here. I live in Nashville. They're the only SEC team that doesn't play Missouri or does not play South Carolina. So how are you going to judge Vanderbilt's, let's say, 16-14 record against a team that plays one or both of those teams? So I'm really interested to see what the committee does with that.
I played golf a couple of weekends ago with a guy who's a huge Texas fan, alum, donor, et cetera. And he was worried. He even texted me before the A&M series. We're about to lose our first series of the season. And, you know, I wouldn't surprise me. I mean, A&M's really good. And they've been erratic and they've bounced back. And they lose 3 straight. He didn't say that about Arkansas, who basically bludgeoned them. What is UT? I know they lost their pitcher. They lost a hit. What is their Achilles? What is their weakness if they have one? And did we see some of that against Arkansas on the road?
Yeah, well, first of all, your friend picked the wrong series, obviously. The Arkansas series had series loss written all over it. Arkansas had lost 3 straight series. I still think Arkansas is the best team in the country. I think they're the most balanced team in the country. Now, I didn't think Texas would go there and I thought a sweep, not shocking, to get dominated like they did. The thing about Texas is, too, guys, their record, you can't take anything away from what they were, 19-2, but their road schedule had not been very difficult. They played at Missouri, at Mississippi State, at Kentucky before that. So again, it's always difficult to win on the road. So, you know, and it's remarkable they lost their best pitch, their number 1 pitcher, Jared Spencer. They lost their All-American outfielder. I would say they're not a lineup that scares you. They're not going to score a ton of runs. They've got good bullpen. They've got one of the best closers in the country. It's a very good roster. It's not an elite roster. I think if you asked coaches, you know, one of those off the record anonymous things, they could list 3 or 4 SEC teams that have a better overall roster. But you know what? The point is winning games, and they're winning games. They still have a 2-game lead in the SEC.
Has A&M course corrected enough to be a factor?
I think so. You know, they are right now. They're in good shape. That series win over LSU was very, very important. They have so many good series wins that they are going to be. Now they're a team. They're the opposite of what I said. They have played both South Carolina and Missouri, but they also have series wins over some really, really good teams to offset that. Their offense is very good. Caden Sorrell is one of the guys who was out earlier in the year. I think he had 3 home runs over the weekend. Jay Lavillette's one of the best hitters in the country. Their starting pitching hasn't been as good as it was early in the year, but they're one of those teams. I hate this phrase, oh, no one wants to play them. Mm-hmm. Everyone uses that if you have a brand name, but clearly Texas A&M is a team like Florida last year that had a ton of talent that all they need to do is get in, and they could clearly make a deep run.
So they're in. Right? No matter what they do, no matter what happens, the rest of there's not much time left in the regular season. They're starting the tournament here pretty soon. They're going to be in.
They're 10-14. They play Missouri this week.
Right. Okay.
You don't want to lose to Missouri. Put your RPI. And they go to Georgia, which is one of the most Jekyll and Hyde teams in the country. Great at home, struggled on the road. They struggle on the road. So going to Georgia will not be easy. So let's say they sweep Missouri, they get to 13-14. I wouldn't want to get swept at Georgia. I wouldn't feel great, but if they win one of those games at Georgia, I think if they go 4-2 down the stretch, they're in great shape. But then the SEC tournament is an opportunity for some really good wins for a lot of teams. But one thing's interesting this year, SEC tournament, single elimination. It's the first year it's been like that across the board because they're allowing, all 16 teams are in now. So that's going to be kind of a new format there. So if I were a betting man, I would say Texas A&M is going to make it, but to say they're in, no doubt about it, I clearly wouldn't say that when you're 10-14 in the league.
Mitch, I got a chance to watch my beloved Florida State Seminoles a little bit this weekend against Clemson. They took 2 of 3. Really should have swept if the umpires understood what rain. No, if they understood what rain was and would have maybe called the game when it was raining. But I digress. They're number 2 in the country after that 2 of 3 series win over an excellent Clemson team.
Yep.
What is going to be the thing that I'm going to be mad about when they make it to Omaha this year?
You shouldn't be mad about anything if they make it to Omaha.
Oh, look, here's the thing. I've been down the road of Omaha, 26 times?
Well, whenever Mike Martin was there, right?
Yeah, and so I've experienced this. I can't feel joy until, they're hoisting a trophy now.
Yes.
It's been too much pain.
Are you, well, first of all, are you getting ready for that huge ACC rivalry this weekend, FSU baseball at Cal, one of the storied rivalries?
God, I've been waiting for that all year.
It's one of the things that I was really excited about when Cal joined the conference.
Yeah. And Cal and Stanford are both struggling. I don't know if it's just they're not good. Stanford's been a disappointment. I thought they were going to be really good, but the travel. I love Link Jared. I think he, that was one of the no-brainer hires a couple years ago. They're Jamie Arnold's really good. That getting that ace. The thing about the pitching situation is, if you follow college baseball, once you get to Omaha, pitching depth isn't quite as important. You can get away with fewer arms there. So I really like this Florida State team. They slip up a few weeks ago or about a month ago with Wake, where they really got bludgeoned and showed some of that lack of pitching depth. And then what happened on campus, there was obviously a tragedy and canceled that Virginia series. So they were kind of like out of sight, out of mind for a while, but they've been playing really good baseball and kind of reasserted their dominance the other day with that Clemson series. So I would think they're a strong contender to get to Omaha. And if history repeats itself, you're going to be devastated again.
Yeah.
Mitch, theathletic.com covers college baseball. My last question for you, and I know that Oregon State's ranked higher than Coastal Carolina, UC Irvine, Southern Miss, Troy, etc. Which of those 5 teams can get to the series, or is there more than one?
That's a good question. I have not been that high on Oregon State this year. We talked last time they're playing a non-conference schedule. They had a kind of an opportunity last week. They played Oregon 3 games in Eugene, lost all 3. Then they played a midweek game at home. But I think of those teams, maybe I'm just leaning on pedigree. I like their top end talent. They've got some good bats. They got a really good Friday night pitcher. And I'm just interested to see they play Iowa this week in Des Moines. They've got a really weird schedule. They play non-conference. You mentioned Troy, really good team. Not that one midweek loss matters, but they got pounded last night by Alabama. I don't know if I'm a believer in Troy getting there. I think probably Coastal Carolina and Oregon State out of that group you mentioned.
Mitch, thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. Great to have the knowledge. Appreciate your time.
No problem. Talk to you guys later.
Mitch Light, theathletic.com, covers college baseball.